What's up, So Right Nation? It is Thursday, June 3rd, right now. And today we are going to be talking with Erin McLeod. She is a soccer player that absolutely loves the So Right. So just bear with us while she requests to come on today. And we're going to have a little conversation. So Good is on. Andrew Schutz is in the house. What's up, man? There we go. Go live. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully my microphone is all the way up. Yeah, Schutz, I saw you, man, up at Yosemite. You had a lot of great pictures. Erin. Hello. Looks like we're a little bit slow. Internet's a little bit slow. Erin, can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now. Sorry, connecting was a bit tough.
Oh, good. Very nice to meet you. How are things going?
Awesome. Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for taking the time. This is fantastic. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, absolutely. Us too. Our pleasure. Completely our pleasure. Where are you joining us from today?
I'm in Orlando. I play with Orlando Pride in the NWSL, and soon I'm going off to Spain with the Canadian national team. But Orlando is my home base.
Wow. All right. That's really cool. I am down actually in South Florida. I'm about 45 minutes north of Miami right now. So we're in the same state. I was looking at your profile a little bit. And yeah, I don't know if I'm slow or if yours is slow, but your picture and everything.
It's breaking up.
I'm gonna try and connect to Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Okay.
You're a little bit fuzzy right now.
Because I can also switch to my data. Hold on. Let's see. Okay.
That's a little bit better.
Is that better?
Yeah, it is. Oh, it was.
I can't see it now. Okay. Oh, here we go.
George-Anthony says, see you in Maui. I'm actually going to be on the Big Island. Or no, I'm sorry. I'm going to be on Oahu, George, July 3rd. I'm going to be on Oahu, not in Maui. Sorry about that. So, Erin, are we okay now? Can you hear me?
I think so. I can see you okay. So, or much better. So.
Good. So, yeah, I'm actually in a little town called Lighthouse Point. It's around Pompano. So that's pretty cool that you're in Orlando, and then you play for the Canadian national team as well.
Yeah. So the season runs until the end of November. It's basically March till November, but there are FIFA windows all throughout the year, and Olympics is just around the corner. And I'm one of 4 goalkeepers, so I'm kind of keeping my fingers crossed and hoping that I'll be one of them going.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So soccer keeps you pretty busy around the year.
Yeah, it's my full time, which is fantastic. And the NWSL, the American League, has grown a lot. It used to be 6 months, and now it's basically a 10-month season.
Okay, and then in that 6 months, how many games are you playing?
We have 24 games in a season, regular season. And then we have, now they've added like a preseason tournament, which is about a month long. And then if you make like the playoffs, then that's an extra month.
Okay, so that's a pretty long season.
Yeah, it ends up being about 10 months, give or take a couple weeks. So,
Jeez, I mean, even when you look at something like football, I mean, you're talking 4 months for most people, but or for most teams. But then if you get into the playoffs and the Super Bowl, it's like 5.5 months, something like that. And you guys are playing for 10 months straight.
well, we have a couple months that are just dedicated to preseason, but yeah, about probably 8 months I would say when we're actually playing games, and the FIFA window, which is like for all international games, runs all year long. So
Okay.
it's not like you can play all year, but there's pockets like every month and a half or so where they arrange like international friendlies.
Oh, okay, gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So
So
it ends
kind
up
of like,
being a lot of games. Yeah.
yeah. How long have you been playing soccer for?
So I'm 38 years old now, and I started playing when I was 5. But basically, I joined the national team when I was in 2001. So playing kind of the professional level since then.
Okay, that's a pretty decently long time. How is your body up?
Yeah, so that was the reason I actually got in touch with you initially, because I have to do a lot of recovery. As I've gotten older, that's become more of, like my full time, like training actually takes up a lot less time of the day compared to my recovery. So, yeah, I feel great, but I have to do a lot of work, and I have to be really diligent about sleep and nutrition, and like active muscle release and this kind of stuff is obviously really, really helpful.
Absolutely. So 20 years as a career playing a professional sport. This is one of the things that nobody tells us. It's like when you're in high school and college, you can practice all the time. You can eat whatever you want, lift weights, get 2 hours of sleep, go practice again, and you're totally fine. But then all of a
Right.
sudden you start to you get into your late 20s, you get into your early 30s, and a lot of that stuff starts to shift. Right now it's like, I got to really focus on my nutrition. Now I really have to sleep a lot more. And instead of hitting the weights so often or going to practice and really like killing myself running, sprinting, etc., I'm going to take some of that downtime. I'm going to like do a little bit of work on the so right, or just do some mobility, a little bit more stretching, etc. um I don't think it was until I got into CrossFit until I really started to realize how much my recovery slowed down. I'm 43
Okay.
right now. And, I really didn't think that I had very much of a problem doing any, like, with recovery. And then when I started CrossFit acts much more like a sport than kind of like a weightlifting program. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden, it's like you're competing with kids that are 20, 22, and like you start off and you're competitive with them on Monday and Tuesday.
Right.
Wednesday, you're not doing so well. And then by the time you get to Friday and Saturday, they're still fresh. And you're like, I can't even lift the bar. Like, how are you going that hard, that fast? And you're not tired or you're not as sore as I am. And then that's when it really hit me. And even with all of the mobility and everything that I do, it doesn't compare to kind of like that young genetic DNA aspect of your cells just turning over that much faster. Do you notice that at all in your profession? Do you notice that on the field? Are there, young women around you and they're just running like the wind, and you're kind of sitting here like, I'm doing my protein, I'm doing my sleep, I'm doing my recovery, and like, you guys are just recovering so much faster. It's ridiculous. It's an unfair advantage. By the time you realize it, you kind of start, in my opinion, you kind of start to kind of like resent it a little bit. Like,
Right.
it was fun
Well,
being young, never knew, type of thing.
right, right, right. Yeah, no, I mean, they always say like the youth is wasted on the young, and I think it's funny because I remember when I was 20 and like all the older players, they always had their foot on a lacrosse ball, or they always like released, they were sitting on a softball, or they're always kind of like doing their activation, and it was such a process for them to get ready for training. And now, that's me now, and it takes a long time to get warmed up, and then it's afterwards. I'm finding all these different ways to recover. Like one of my favorite nights in with me, and I'm working on my activation there. I've also done some floating, and I'm just always trying to find different ways to recover. But yeah, definitely. Like I think your priorities change as you get older too. It's not about quantity anymore. It's about getting like the quality. So as a goalkeeper, it's not about making 55 saves. It's about doing like 4 or 5 really good ones and being able to move on to the next drill. And I also have to take into account like the actual just time on feet. And I don't know if you felt this, but like as I've gotten older, I just swell. Like our bodies naturally swell.
Yeah.
So if like I'm on my feet for a long time, like I start getting swelling like in my legs and in my feet, and it makes a big impact on the way that I move around the field. So there's things that I never thought I'd have to think about. I've always been that athlete that prided myself in doing like the extra, working hard, doing the extra sets at the end of training. And I've always been a gym rat and love being in the gym, but I just can't, I have to monitor how much weight I'm doing. And again, the focus is more on like the movement and getting it right.
Absolutely. So there's a couple of things there. Number one, I would highly recommend 2 products to you. Okay. The
Okay.
first is going to be called Ease Magnesium, EASE Magnesium. It's a spray. Okay. And the reason
EASE.
why we like spray for magnesium is because your skin actually regulates the amount of magnesium your body needs. In a pill form, you can take 5, 6, 700 milligrams of magnesium. And if your body has too much, you get really bad diarrhea because magnesium is hydrophilic. In the large intestine, it'll just soak all the water in from the interstitial fluid, and then you're just going to pass it as diarrhea. And, it's uncomfortable. You don't like to do stuff like that. It'll also help take away
Right.
a lot of surrounding the joints, so you can spray it around your knees.
Okay.
You can spray it around the lower lumbar, okay, things like that. And then the second thing that I would highly recommend is a supplement called Core Cumin, CoreCumin, and I can put that in the DM later. But
Yeah.
Core Cumin has some really, really fantastic research behind it, taking inflammation away. And both of these products, 100% USADA. There's nothing unnatural in them. No designer steroids or anything like that.
Okay.
But what curcumin is very good at is down regulating those inflammation pathways, the cytokine storms that we get either from too much activity or too much standing still. And in my practice, and a lot of times I have to show people with the right, you get just as many problems standing all day as you get from either sitting or being really, really active. Some of the people that have the most pain are nurses, and they're on their feet 12 to 16 hours a day. And we come from now kind of like this philosophical / scientific paradigm of you don't want to sit all the time. You gotta get a standing desk, yada yada. But then the people that have a lot of the pain that come and see me, they're nurses or doctors, and they're standing all day. So what we really got to look at is that the body needs balance, right? We stand till our feet get tired, and then we sit down as long as we start to fidget. Now, when we start fidgeting and we're moving all over the place, now it's time to stand up again. So as a goalkeeper, even though you're not running 10 miles a game like some of the forwards, now you're standing for the entire game, right? Which technically it's going to be just as bad. It's going to be just as bad. The next thing that I want to go to, somebody, Atomic Sky says, what does recovery actually consist of? What do you do besides nutrition / sleep? Obviously using the right. You mentioned getting into a flotation tank, saunas. Is there anything else that you didn't talk about yet that you kind of want to expand upon?
Sorry, Siki, I lost you there for my internet. I don't know if it's my internet or my data. I'm trying to.
Okay.
You're loading again. I got one of these.
Okay. Can you hear me though?
Okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're a little bit fuzzy.
Uh, you can hear me? Shoot, I can't hear you.
Are you?
Okay,
Can you
there
hear?
you go. I think you're back. I hope.
Okay. So where did I leave off?
Oh, there we go. Yeah, no, you were talking just about like doctors and the amount of time that they were standing on feet, and how that's just contributing to a lot of swelling and issues. That's kind of the last thing that I heard. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
What I ended with was I said, you know, a lot of the other players on the field, they're going to be on their feet running all over the place.
Right.
You understand why they would be sore or tired after the game, but then you would look at a goalkeeper and be like, you kind of barely move. But
Yeah.
just the fact that you're just standing there. You're
Right.
standing the entire time, and that will put a lot of weight on your body and create a number of different problems. What I
Right.
went to next, Atomic Sky 77 says, what does recovery actually consist of? What do
Yeah.
you do besides nutrition and sleep? And you talked about the flotation tanks, you talked about the sauna, and you talked about the so right. Is there anything else that you kind of emphasize in order to recover and get your body ready to play?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely try to get into, I mean, I know I already talked about the flotation tanks, but those can actually be pretty expensive. So it's not something like, depending on your budget, you know, you cannot do too regularly. So we're really lucky, like the complex we live at, there's a pool, but I try to do like contrast baths as much as I can. If I can, you know, drop into cool and warm water and go back and forth. There's a swimming pool here where I try to just do like some active movement in the pool. So it's just not weight bearing and mobility, but there's also, because of the water, you can do like simple mobility exercises with light resistance, which I find is really great. And then, like I said, with the sauna, I do take the so right in there, which I think is great, but I'm also like really big on mindfulness. I have some brain training things that I do kind of every day, but I listen to guided relaxations or meditations. I think that's like very, very important. And sometimes I find doing that is actually, it puts me in a place where I almost feel more rested than if I were to take a nap. So for some people that have, you know, or they're in the middle of work, or they want to take a 10-minute break, or just want to feel a little more centered and grounded. Like there's so many nice guided relaxations that you can even do sitting at a desk, where you just focus on the contact on the ground and on your chair. And it's just, you know, just a small break from, I think, the rumination that happens. Because for me, I think resting your brain is just as important as resting your body. And I think sometimes we forget that as athletes, because we're like on our phone all the time, or we're playing video games, or, you know, like if we're constantly stimulated, you know, our brain doesn't get time to recover either.
Absolutely. So we've talked about meditation quite a bit on our live. I'm a very avid meditator, an hour every single morning, no matter what. And it is very true. A lot of people think like, okay, if I gotta wake up earlier in order to do a mindfulness meditation or just a regular any type of meditation that there is, you think that you're losing out on sleep. But what the science shows us is that by taking out this emotional slash cellular garbage in the morning, that frees up a lot of energy for the rest of the day. So you got guys like Steph Curry coming out, going into flotation takes, talking about meditation, and a lot of like Aaron Rodgers visualizing touchdown after touchdown. Like a lot of successful athletes are coming out and they're talking about this. And before it was just kind of like, oh, what are you, a monk now? Or, you know, you're a Buddhist or something like that. And here in the West, right, everything moves super fast. It's like we got
Yeah.
cars, we got planes, we got trains, we have fat tablets, we have phones, we have computers, we have, you know, 3,000 different channels on the TV to keep our mind active, to keep our
Right.
mind busy. But it's the wrong type of activity. That shit drains you. It drains you, and you're sitting there just kind of like, yeah, I'm Netflix and chilling right now. But at the same time, like your heart is pumping because of the action scene, right? Your mind is going 10,000 miles a minute trying to figure out what's going to happen next. And
Yeah.
you flip the TV off, and then you're wired and tired. you can't fall asleep, right? So talk a little bit about that. Is there a program that you use? Is there what do you do? Just lay back, close your eyes, give blessings to the universe. Talk to us about it. Let us know.
Yeah, so multiple things. So I'm actually one of the co-founders of the Mindful Project, which is one. Dr. Rachel Linval is the other co-founder. She has her doctorate in mindfulness research, and together we've put together this. It's a personal development course paired with mindfulness. And that's you can find that on the mindfulproject.us. Excuse me. There's also, like, if I know sometimes mindfulness and meditation can be somewhat intimidating, like people think you're a monk or a Buddhist and you don't
Right.
really know what it means, and it can be a little bit intimidating. And Netflix actually has a really great series on mindfulness and what it is. I think it's an 8 or 9 episodes, and they actually have a really good one they just released on sleep. And you can do, most of those they start eyes open, kind of explaining some concepts, and they always end with like a 7 to 10 minute eyes closed, most of them anyway, meditation, which are really easy to follow. And then in our program, we have a bunch of guided relaxations. There's visual, a lot of like nature scenes, which I highly encourage. But I think also the concept of like putting your screen down is massive. And I was reading an article the other day about how we actually have a certain amount of melatonin we naturally release when it gets dark out. But if you're looking at a screen right before bed, it inhibits the amount of melatonin that you release. So people that,
Absolutely.
so the screen really is like putting that away. And I know it's like addictive and we're always on our phones, and I understand that, but that I think is absolutely, that's a big one.
That you're 100% correct. What was one of the greatest challenges for you getting into your pro career? Like what was a hurdle or several hurdles or something that you overcame to get into your pro career that if it wouldn't have happened, you may be in a different place.
Yeah, I think for me, and this is why I'm so obsessed with mindset. I've been a perfectionist, like a lot of athletes, my whole life, and it got to a point. I was competing in the 2008 Olympics, and we were playing against the U.S. Canada was playing the U.S., and I tore my ACL in that game. And when you're at the Olympics, it's like I remember like passing LeBron James in the cafeteria and Usain Bolt like on the way to our dorms, and it was just. It was an unreal experience, but on the field, I was so afraid and paranoid of making mistakes, because in my brain, I had taught myself that they were just these negative, horrible things, that it like really squeezed the joy out of what I was doing. So when I got hurt at those Olympic Games, I remember feeling relieved. And during my rehab, I remember thinking I worked so hard to like not even enjoy this experience, and how can I find more fulfillment in what I do? And I think this kind of, for me, all comes back to mindfulness. This is where it started really becoming a huge part of what I do, because in general, like, we have a certain amount of attention, and research shows you can't grow it, you can only divide it. But most of the times we're dwelling, especially as athletes or people who are perfectionists, you're dwelling on past mistakes, which means some of your attention is in the past, and then you're worried about making them in the future. So the average human being only has about 10% of their attention in the present moment, which is probably pretty accurate for where I was at. So the nice thing about mindfulness is you're able to expand that, because you really just practice like being in the present moment, whether that's noticing your breath or noticing your surroundings or whatever it is. And that is, what everyone refers to as the zone. So you're a more efficient athlete, but you're also more calm. You have more emotional control when you're in this space. So I think for me, realizing that I was constantly in the past and in the future, this is where a lot of like sports anxiety, performance anxiety comes from. So I was probably performing at about, I don't know, half of my potential, because I was in my head. So I was definitely the one getting in my way of my own success. And then I started very like simple things. I worked with this man named Dr. Kerry Evans. He works with the New Zealand All Blacks. And I asked him, like, how do I get in the moment? And he just said, like, just focus on your breath. And I thought the guy was nuts. I'm like, just focus on my breath. And it was so simple. And I counted for 3 seconds in, and then 4 seconds out. And, you know, research shows with a longer out breath, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for calming your body down. You make clearer decisions. And it was like the most simple thing, you know. Then I started like expanding my vision in games, which is also naturally calming for your brain. So immediately I felt the impact of these things on my game, because I was able to just perform without like myself getting in the way. So for me, that Olympics, I was in a really bad place, but it was kind of, I had this epiphany, like I'm never existing in the moment. And, you know, as an athlete, if you can be in the zone all game long, I mean, Michael Jordan is one of my heroes, and he like literally lived in the zone.
Right. Right.
That was a big moment for me.
That's awesome. Amazing story. Where does the where do the So Right tools fit into your routine on a daily, weekly basis? Let us know what you do and which one your favorite one is. Just talk about them a little bit.
Yeah.
How they
So
complement
this
your.
is the one I actually saw like in our locker room or in our gym at Orlando Pride. So that's one that I'm like, my hip flexors are always tight. So it's something that is pretty regular for me. And we go into the gym before going out onto the field to do a little like activation. So I'm almost always on this one. And then for me, like I'm a goalkeeper. So my neck is always, and my shoulders always get pretty tight. So I'm on this one, especially when I go into the sauna. I'm trying to release my neck as much as possible.
Right.
And again, like what I like about it is I can just sit and like let my body like just fall into it, because it's not always that comfortable, as you know, at first.
Right. Right.
But yeah, and then also like this one, I think this one is called the so back.
Yep. So
I use this one like again in the sauna a lot of the time, but I kind of just move this up and down because my thoracic spine is like, I'm often really tight in between my shoulder blades, again because I'm a goalkeeper. So I mean, I use a lot of your tools. I use this sometimes to like warm up my legs, like I'm rolling out my quads. But I try my best to vary it up, to be honest. I try not to have like, I like routine, but I kind of like to mix it up to stimulate my body in different ways.
that's fantastic. How long have you been using the So Right tools right now?
I think about a month, but we had this, I think, I want to say even last season is when I first saw it, and I remember asking our strength coach about it. So I've known about it, but I think probably more part of my regular routine about a month and a half now.
Okay, fantastic. Do you have any complications from your ACL repair still, or does it feel good?
So I've had 3 on my right knee, and my knee, knock on wood, is okay, but I have to be like really diligent about all the muscles around my knee on my right side, especially like hamstring insertion. I'm always
Yeah.
staying on top of that. I have to always make sure that my quad isn't too tight. I just basically as much as I can, and my IT band, as like, I don't know if it's all athletes or soccer athletes, but my IT bands are always guitar strings, so I'm having to work a lot on those as well, just to try and keep the pressure off my knee.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, no, when it comes to the IT band, if you're an athlete, you have to be working on those suckers almost every single day. You know,
Yeah,
keep the knee as healthy as possible, or keep it optimal. So you had 3 ACL repairs on that right knee.
I have. Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of fun.
Wow. Yeah, I know.
That's a lot of fun right there.
Yeah.
Erin, I'm gonna want to be respectful of your time. It's about 5:13 right now. Do you have
Oh,
any last words of wisdom for us? Anything you want to communicate with your audience and our audience, everybody that's on right now, that may help them better optimize their recovery, or maybe help them become a little bit more mindful in situations in the future? Anything.
yeah. I mean, I think for me, like probably last year, what shifted for me, like recovery can feel like a job, but I think when you start shifting your mindset to recovery becomes self-love and like self-compassion, and that you're doing something good for yourself, I think it feels better. And then you can enjoy it a little bit more, whether that's your sauna or your meditation or whatever. Because I think when you give back to yourself and you show up better for your job or for the people in your life, or whatever it is that you do.
Absolutely. That's an incredible. As many things as I've said on this live, I've never said something like that. So that's an absolutely incredible perspective. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate you being on today. Best of luck in the season, and especially if you get to go to the Olympics. We will be rooting for you. I don't know, man. If you win the Olympics, do something nuts, like throw a so right at the camera for us or something. Like when everybody's jumping around, just get the so right off the sideline and throw it at
just like in a subtle way. Have it.
Yeah. Yeah. But really, really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Best of luck in the future and everything like that, and much appreciation for being on.
Awesome. Thank you, and thank you for all your support. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Have a great rest of your Thursday night.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you.